this map pick and had the risk of like Midtown or even, God forbid, Hollywood being picked against them. So they probably feel like their hand is forced a little bit here. But it leaves Alcatsi with a clean slate in terms of bans in that they haven't used up the Ramatra. So D.Va, Mira, it's going to be Kiriko, Lucio, backlines. In fact, across the board, mirror compositions for our top EMEA teams.
And we'll just get a chance to see who plays this style better, right? Both these teams have kind of made their money throughout this stage playing these sim-based setups. As I think one of the main, just with the D.Va in play, that's where Alcatsi has really looked at their best. As we'll see if TM can kind of match that.
Well, a checkmate is in Timbuktu, but I don't know how he got there. That is like a TP4 to something similar. That's a pretty big misstep there by Alcatsi. They now really lack the stopping power for a frontliner like D.Va.
I mean, without checkmate, I mean, that is brutal, right? That allows Yubi to start ramping, but hey, Yubi steps up a little bit too far. I mean, these sims, you just one or two shots and they're gone.
Pretty good recovery. Checkmate taken down off rip, and it's been Labda salvaging things for Alcatsia time and time again in this fight. Yeah. Great conversion there for Alcatsia on a short-handed engagement. They back away. They bait Twisted Mind into taking an engagement, and Labda is looking absolutely lethal if he's given the space to breathe.
And I was gonna say, I mean, man, is Labda one of the most improved players? But really, it's just you're seeing him play heroes that we traditionally haven't seen him play. But he's been phenomenal once he's been putting on the hit scan. Nice Kitsune rush here from Simple, gonna put it right over the point. See if they can take it off of this.
Ziad, I think, needs to find a way to get back in his mech here. The sound barrier comes a little bit too late to save him. It's both support ults expended by Alcatsi, but without a D.Va to be the vehicle of those buffs. It's going to be hard to win a fight here. Quartz is down, and Alcatsi are happy to play off the point here because Twisted Mind's struggling to put that pressure down. Sound barrier waited out for the most part, but eventually they've got to go. In for a penny, in for a pound, says Labda. It's a D-suit on KSA. He's out of mech, but it's not enough left for Alcatsi to capitalize on the lack of the bulky body. So Twisted Minds eventually, tooth and nail, fight for that first point.
And like you discussed, it's just Ziad not having the mech, right? If he's able to get back in the mech and get towards that point, it's a little bit different. But Twisted Minds, the battle is long, but they're able to come out on top. Now you've got this overclock wall, man. They might be able to run it up through the second part of the map.
Choke is definitely the focus now. Harder to control it with a tank like D.Va, but Ziad's still going to step up and plug the gap, so to speak. Here's an overclock from Quartz. This is dangerous. Simwall as well is going to complicate things now for Alcatsi, but they've got one of their own. They're going to cross over. How do you dance this safely? Dealing with this damage output of Quartz. Self-destruct for Ziad. Needs another mech back now as Checkmate's wall will dissipate first. And Twisted Minds will be allowed to move up. The disengages from Alcatsi have been good, but now they need to regain that ground they gave up in order to give them an advantage. And Yubi doesn't want to allow for that. Oh, the sim turret, so Yubi vulnerable out in front, too far forward. That's going to be something we're tracking, Matt, is those sims getting too far away from their defensive architecture and punished for it.
Yeah, but I think TM is going to keep this going on the offensive, right? You lose Landon, that's an even bigger loss there for Alcatsia, and that's going to back them up, right? Just not enough healing resources kind of stand toe-to-toe there with Twisted Minds.
Yeah, just ran out of defense matrix to stop that railgun coming through, so Quartz gets another kill on the backside. If that doesn't happen, Alcatsia have a chance to recover in the fight again. Here come Twisted Minds, barreling straight down mid. They're going to use the Kitsune rush to such an effect. It's going to be mirrored though. Landon deploys one of his. Low is KSA. Ziad also out of mech. It's Buddy Blasters for all now. As Kalex is going to round that sound barrier slightly earlier for Funny Astro though. Both teams shielded up to the nines. Labda looking to try and push up here. Sim TP in play, but Alcatsi not making use of it right now. It's Yubi again, flattened first. Can't hold up under pressure in that front line. Labda close to an overclock now. Trying to look, I think, for KSA, who's de-mech'd yet again, and that favors Alcatsia. They have lost Checkmate, though. They're all on Labda here to find that extra damage and not allow KSA to remech. He's achieved that goal. And now it's just the dregs of Twisted Minds remaining. Quartz deals with Labda, but that's not enough.
Man, as I thought Quartz may be able to make something happen here. It looks like he backed up a little bit. Still wants to kind of maybe press up as okay, now you have KSA back in the fight. It looks like Yubi back here as well via TP. So this next fight's going to kick off rather quickly.
This sim wall is so big for Checkmate. Can he get it down early enough? Quartz already finds a headshot, but the sim wall now will be forthcoming. Labda reciprocates. Railguns from both sides, and now Quartz's options are significantly limited, such that there has to be a full disengage from Twisted Minds. The clock burns down further. Under 2 minutes, and Labda takes a pretty aggressive stance, but that's, I guess, facilitated by Ziad pushing up onto that right side corner. He'll linger, but not for too long. Needs to keep his mech alive. That's crucial. Ziad ducks back close to a self-destruct, but can't build it. Simple with a Suzu now. Ziad out of mech. This is where Twisted Minds could go up a gear, but Yubi punished again. Checkmate from the back line sends a little bit of an orb in and picks up the sim. Now, though, awkward spot. TP's to gain some distance, but he's still on the enemy side of the map as Landon once again falls. Good shots coming in from Yubi. Kellex and Ziad fall on the gambit from Alcadzia ultimately does not pay off.
Look, you cannot lose Ziad at the beginning of these fights and expect to kind of pull off some miraculous comebacks as he dies yet again, gets demeched at the front of that fight. And even with a trade right after, you're still with KSA in mech in a significantly better spot to end up taking it. I think for Alcadzia, though, you did burn a significant amount of clock there off the Twisted Minds. I know time pool there.
All right, here's that Kitsune Rush. KSA demeched instantly. He will have that recover, but it buys valuable seconds here for Alcadzia. Now, though, they need to face down Simple's Kitsune Rush himself. Ziad at least, of course, can back into mech. Should have been required. Keep an eye on those front lines now as the sound barrier is out of point. Health bars is where your eyes should be as Laptors just ceases to exist. Simple gets in there, benefiting from the fire rate increase. Those kunais coming out in a flurry. And now Alcadzia trying to regroup, and they've done so. Yubi again down so early here for Twisted Minds. KSA, no remake opportunity. Ziad has his and gets to retain it. Staying alive at a sliver of health and picking up a mini. He's going to be back in the fight. And Alcadzia can drag this out on and on.
Yeah, and I think they look much better, Alcadzia, when they're just upping the pace and not trying to play some of this neutral. That's where I think they kind of end up losing out on some of the damage, and then Ziad ends up getting demeched. It's going to be an overclock here for Quartz. It's going to be the checkmate sim wall in response as they back them up all the way.
It's utterly countered. There's no answer to it. And again, the same is available to Twisted Minds, but they might need to use their sim wall more aggressively to give them some extra space. Even though they know there is an overclock that they'd want to counter. Yubi's got to stay alive, and as I said, an offensive sim wall in play. That now means, of course, Labta can hold on to that overclock and make good use of it later, but Checkmate is just caught out in a weird spot, trying to make a pay for the flank. Ends up blowing up in his face, though. Ziad controls this space effectively. Remember, he still has that remake opportunity. He goes for an aggressive self-destruct. Oh, you're kidding. It got the D-Mech on KSA.
Whoa,
he didn't have his boosters available to get away, man. There's just no option for him. He had no choice. And that is a gut punch to Twisted Minds. Ziad already building towards his next self-destructed. Labda still holding on to overclock. This could be trouble. This could be curtains for Twisted Minds.
And how many remakes is Ziad actually going to turn into? Like, kills or, you know, that time get to D-Mech on the other side. I mean, the last map, right, he's able to get Simple now in a crucial situation, able to get KSA out of mech. Typically, you kind of look at that self-destruct, right, as just the ability to get a new mech back, but Ziad making nice work of it.
Go time for Twisted Minds. That is a very aggressive TP forward. Alcadzia happy to play off the card and wait for this Kitsune Rush to expire, but now they're going to play from the attacker's side of the map, and they've got to be quick about it. TP forward, got him up to the high ground. There's a fantastic pivot from the defenders, and Funny Asteroid gets flattened. Here's the sound barrier now as Kellex sends Alcadzia forward. With a vengeance, they come and retake the card and what was once theirs. Now, summarily handing down potentially what could be the first hybrid map loss for Twisted Minds. That is a great start. A good defense hold. Now all they've got to do is exceed that progress.
And I mean, that would just be a little bit of a gut punch, right? If Twisted Minds ends up dropping this one to Alcadzia, I think it would just be Alcadzia just showing what type of level they're currently at here in EMEA. We take a look at some of the stats as checkmate on that sim. I mean, look at that 8,900 compared to UV 62. And then in terms of like that hit scan, right? Quartz, 9,300. Like, he's getting the better of Lambda at the moment, but a big difference in terms of the sim damage.
For me, it's the number in the death column for Ziad, Matt. That's telling so much of the story to me. A singular death over the course of a very, very scrappy first half of this map. Great showing. I mean, Checkmate and UV both dying 7 times. They are playing ultra aggressively. They are solo TPing into each other's backlines and trying to find picks. I remember Checkmate being able to do it in the second phase of the map, just like orbing UV without him expecting it. Let's listen to Alcadzia now, of course. They've got to be feeling good. This is Twisted Minds' best map by all accounts, and they've got exactly the dream start they were looking for.
Yeah.
I don't see anyone peeking yet. They're gonna have Sim, I think. Maybe, they have Sim.
Yeah, Sim holding statue.
Yeah, we can take one swing on the sim, okay? On Sergio.
Yeah.
Get
If
some
I
flanking.
can, maybe if I can TP point, we can go. I will say.
Okay, yeah, just get if you push sim, just get the solid flanking every time.
Yeah.
Okay,
TP
big
point,
ground,
3,
Diva.
2, 1, TP attack.
Hitting the A.
Keep fight,
Diva,
keep fight,
Diva point, Diva point.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Diva,
Diva.
chill.
I can't.
Stay place. If they push me, fight.
Diva.
Diva, kill bot on.
Shima.
Can you go bunch?
Fight. Keep fight.
Sim, this nice. Third domain,
Baby one.
Tag a bit.
Nice.
Nice TB.
I have beat soon. They have no Kyrian because he died. Yeah, I'm way faster.
That last point, very important. No Curry ultimate, because Simple died first in that fight. He is way behind Landon in terms of that Kitsune rush, which presents a snowball opportunity for Alcatsia in the next few moments. Twisted Minds have to do something to try and steer the winds back in their favor, but they've lost Yubi early. This is turning into a disastrous showing. Simple redeems himself, though. It's a pick on checkmate, but that's all he can manage before having a swift step back away.
Yeah, and I think their idea to take a early fight here is the right decision, but the fight goes so fast for Alcatsia, they don't really kind of get what they want, which was just like, you know, you probably are going to lose that fight if you're Twisted Minds, right? But make it long, get Alcatsia to use a support ult, right? Then you start to feel a little bit better about it. But the fight goes so fast. You know, Simple builds like about 20 or 30% towards a rush there, but you're still significantly behind in rush and beat.
And now they have to face both of them down from Alcatsia, Matt. This could be...
Quartz made a ton of progress, too.
And they're allowing it to. They were allowing Twisted Minds to get in position. They might be waiting on Funny Astro's beat or something else, but they might not be given the time to do so. Here's the Kitsune rush, and they are going for it. KSA demeched instantly. And this is going from bad to worse. A living nightmare for Twisted Minds, who can't get out of their own heads. Landon, 2 kills in that fight, and they didn't even have to use sound barrier. That is devastating. Now, at best, Twisted Minds can match support ultimates, but they're dealing with a sim wall as well. Twisted Minds have to throw themselves at this. This checkpoint is everything, and they're being forced back deep into the map by Ziad. They'll have one crack at this map, but that is all they can hang their hat on. Here's that sim wall. Lambda now happy to navigate both of them as it comes in. Sound barrier later for Alcatsia will benefit them later on in the fight. It's Quartz looking to take it off angle fight, but he gets smashed by Lambda. Dominated by the first railgun that came in. And Lambda was able to finish the job with Funny Astro trying to step up. And there's nothing to be done. Alcatsia are on a run. They're steamrolling Twisted Minds. And it's desperation now for the defense side team. A 5-minute 20 time bank is immense.
I mean, why the hell was this guy a Pharah one trick for ages? I mean, my lord. I mean, just on the Sojourn or the Freya. I mean, Lambda just showing up in a huge way. 5-minute plus, Mitch. They don't even need to complete the map. This is just a dropping here by Alcatsia.
And I know Psycho likes to bring up that Saudi E-League, mate, but I tell you what, this is a different field, and Alcatsia look like a different beast today. SimTP made use of. Disrupt the shot, accounting for checkmate there as Quartz has managed to tuck himself on a nice off angle. And he's able to shut down Alcatsia in their tracks. Now Twisted Minds had to dig in for one of their biggest defensive endeavors of the stage.
This is going to be so tough, though, man. I mean, Kitsune rush available here for Alcatsia. That might be enough, right? To just be able to do it, as you're also going to get Lambda with another overclock, building these so fast.
TP to the high ground. That's going to be controlled by Alcatsia here. Twisted Minds give ground, but how much can they afford to give up before this map gets taken off them? Ziad gets forward. Knows that KSA's low on the high ground. If he can force a D-Mech here, it would be massive. Tries to body block. KSA a long way from his mech. Self-destruct. Can he get back into it? Yubi was low, but topped up in a pinch there by Simple, who has Kitsune rush now available. Suzu used. The rush comes out, but Simple falls in a screaming heap. Lambda wants to press up, but he has to contend with that overshield. He deals with it. Both support ultimates, and that's not enough here for Twisted Minds. There's Alcatsia looking to take their victory lap now. Kellex with the beat. D-Mech for KSA. And that's signed and sealed. Twisted Minds handed their first hybrid map loss